Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for Tyler Perry's Sistas, Season 6, Episode 18, from the Blindside. All right, you guys, we're going to be skipping around this week for the review. So we're going to start off with Calvin and Maurice. We see them over at the apartment and Maurice is ecstatic. He's happy. He's feeling good. The case is finally closed with the bank robbery. So he's ready to go out, twirl, let his hair down. Calvin is like he'll go with him. So he jokes with him about that. And Maurice says his intentions for the night is for somebody to blow his back out like a glow stick. And Calvin was like, don't bring nobody back. And he says, like hell, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So they go back and forth about, how he picks the wrong type of man, this and that and the other. And he says every rose has its thorn. Calvin was like, well, you know how to pick them. And Maurice was like, you know nothing about my dialogue. So Calvin decides, look, what we're going to do is go out, have a good time, and we'll find you somebody nice. Maurice was like, look, your type of nice is Sabrina. That's not what I'm looking for. So they both agree that their mission for tonight is to go out and find Maurice, a nice guy that will treat Maurice right. So we go over there to Karen's house and she gets a knock on the door and it's Brian, the contractor, and she seems a bit surprised. And I'm like, well, why are you there, Brian? Like you couldn't call her and tell her what you needed to tell her? Like, why are you over there? So he says, can I come in? So she lets him in and she thanks him for getting back to her so soon with the estimates. And he says, well, after talking to his subs about her, they were able to move a little quicker. And she said, well, what about me? He said he told them that he had a beautiful black single mother that needed their help and their discounts. And I'm hoping that that doesn't mean code for this is somebody we can take advantage of. So she looks at the amount and of course it's high as a kite, but we don't know exactly how much because they didn't tell us, knowing the audience really wants to know how much this is going to cost Karen or Andy or whoever is going to be paying, right? So he's telling her that he's not going to tell her any lies. He's going to be truthful. She can call other companies to get other estimates, contact her insurance company. She lets him know she doesn't have insurance. And he's like, well, how you plan on paying for this? And she tells him she does have the money. So, of course, he's like, cool. So he tells Karen that he knows that she may be uncomfortable about all of this. And Karen tells him that she actually trusts him and that she has a good feeling about him. And she wants to know how long is this going to take. He tells her he can start working on it as soon as possible, but it may take up to 5 months because he's been having supply chain issues. So Karen seems a bit hesitant about the 5 months. She says it's a long time. And I'm still trying to figure out why Karen just won't go get her a brand new building. I don't understand that. Like, girl, leave all that bad juju burnt up with those ashes. So then she asks him, well, how did you know I was a single mother? And he says that he heard Pamela talk about it. And he tells her, look, if you need any tips, I can help. Basically saying that him and his wife are experts because, they have all those kids. And if she needs anything, they have a whole lot of toys and clothes up to 9 years old. And before she buys anything else, that she can call him and he'll be there like Michael Jackson. So Karen, she was cool with all that, and then he ends up leaving. So I don't really know what to make of Brian just yet. I don't know if they were trying to play Karen to get extra money with the estimates, or if now Brian is feeling Karen and low-key digging her and wanting to get closer. I don't know, but I guess we'll find out. But I do have my good eye on Mr. Brian. So Karen, she immediately calls Pam and asks her, can she go to the beauty supply store for her? And Pam wanted to know, is she on the clock? So Karen told her, look, do you want to make something happen or not? And of course, Pam does. And she says she'll send her this list. And Pam was like, well, how much stuff on the list? Because I got to pay for this. Karen tells her just put it on her account. And she says, girl, you still got an account with a burnt down salon? Karen say, look, I still pay my bills. She sees the list and she was like, this list long as hell. Like, you going to have me in the store looking like Celie. So Karen said, well, are you going to get it or not? And they end up hanging up. So Pam, she later calls Karen back and tells her she has everything on her list. And she tells her she's happy that she wanted her to help her. So Karen said that she wanted to talk to her about something and tells her that she got the estimates back from Brian, who unexpectedly dropped by. So she did not know he was coming to her house. So Pam was surprised that the estimates came back so fast and asked Karen how much it was, and she said it wasn't that bad. But earlier she said that it was a lot. So I don't know. We need to know what that number is, Karen girl. But she had to let her know that it's going to take probably 5 months before it's complete. And, Pam is worried about her income. So Karen tells her that that's what she wanted to talk to her about because she was thinking about seeing most of her clients at her house. So Pam teases her about becoming a kitchen beautician. And Karen was like, you can just come work here part-time. So Pam was like, part-time? As if that was not going to be good enough. Karen had to let her know, look, I'm just trying to come up with solutions. So it's like part-time or no time. Like, what you gonna do? Barbecue or mildew? And she quickly got with the program and was like, part-time, boo. So Karen tells Pam she wants her to call the clients and see who would be willing to come to her house. And then she's reluctant because she's like, do you think it's really a good idea? And Pam tells her, look, a black woman would go anywhere to get their hair done. And she says, but are you sure you want these people in your house? And I'm with Pam on that. I'm like, girl, don't be putting all the people in your house like that. But Karen feels like she really doesn't have any other choice. Pam says she'll call somebody, I don't know who the somebody was, and ask about some of chemicals. And Karen says she'll just open up the windows and stuff. And I thought that was a little bit of foreshadowing. I feel like she's putting herself at risk being closed all up with those different fumes from the perms, the dyes, the different stuff, the bleaching hair, all that, the smoke from the curling irons, all that different kind of stuff can get to you. I mean, hell, you can go in your bathroom and try to clean the bathroom with some Clorox bleach and Pine Sol and Fabuloso, and you'll pass out in there just from that alone. So just imagine all this other stuff she got going on. So Karen, she wants Pam to do all this calling, and Pam was like, first of all, what's wrong with your phone? And I'm like, exactly. Like, why can't you call your clients? Like, Karen, you know who you have a good rapport with your dedicated clients. So I feel like you should be the one to at least call the clients, who you really want in there initially anyway. But then she tells her she needs some furniture moved, and Pam was like, well, call Aaron. She don't want to call Aaron because she don't want Aaron to think they back together because, it don't take much for Aaron. Then she suggests Zach, and she was like, stop it, no. So Pam eventually was like, look, I'll call around and see what I could come up with. So we get a scene with Zach and Fatima sitting outside of Heather's house in the car, and they're wondering should they go in or not. And I'm like, well, how did we get here? Because in the last episode, the two of you were in the house cooking, and the agreement was to see if you get a court hearing or not. And if you don't, then you would go. But this is the same night, so why are we here? Like, I don't get it. So Fatima, she calls Wesley, and she quickly hangs up and tells Zach that they will meet with him tomorrow morning at 8. She doesn't really know what it means. Zach wants to know will he be able to see Michael, and she doesn't know. So they decide to get out the car anyway to go check on Michael, and they're greeted by the neighbor. The lady tells Zach, like, I see that she called the police on you, but she did agree that Zach did the right thing by taking the child at the time. And they say they were coming to see him to make sure he was all right. And she said, well, they're not here. They haven't been here all day. And she thinks that, they may have gone to the hospital. So they said, well, what makes you say that? And she said that she saw Michael limping and crying earlier. Now, remember, when he was at the house with Zach, he did say his leg was already hurting. So it could have possibly just gotten worse. So Fatima was like, are you sure? And she said, no, I'm not sure. She said, why are you asking me that? Do you think I'm nosy? And I'm like, yeah. So Fatima was like, no. She said, well, you should think that because I am nosy. She said, hell, I'm getting old. There's nothing else to do around here but be nosy. So Fatima wanted to know was anybody in Heather's house, and she said thanks to Zach, whatever he did scared them off so they don't come around anymore because Heather used to have them coming in and out all the time. And I'm like, lady, it was just yesterday. It's only been like one day. So here's where I feel like in 6B, the editing is all the way off. Now, they've spoken to 2 different attorneys. Now, I don't know if they did a whole Jake Bryce thing where the black guy turned into Wesley and, we just gonna roll with Wesley we never talked to the other guy because his name hasn't been mentioned at all. So both of those guys said that there have been no reports of someone calling in to report abuse, right? So just last night, right before they took Michael, this same neighbor told them that she has repeatedly made calls and...
Well, they called me today, and they said somebody gonna be here tomorrow. to stop her through here.
Okay, good. And you'll tell them everything?
Absolutely. I'm going to tell them everything.
Thank you.
So why are we not asking her what happened? Did the people come out? Did you talk to them? What did they say? What did you say? Because they're telling us that nobody's reporting anything. So what happened? Child, but anyway. So Fatima wanted to make sure that the neighbor had her phone number and asked her to give her a call when she sees Heather, and she told her that she would call. So out of nowhere, Zach pulls out this wad of money out of his back pocket and hands it to the neighbor and says, here, you can hold on to this. So she was like, well, what is this? And Zach was like, well, that's just if you see something, don't hesitate to call us. And baby, she went slap off. She was like, you think I need your money? I don't need your money. And she threw it back at Zach like, you get your ass from around here with your fancy cars. She's asking them like, oh, you think I do this for the money? This is for this child. He has been through a lot. He has gone through a lot. And, she just basically letting them know she wants him to get some help. So Zach and Fatima, they're kind of taken aback a bit, and he starts apologizing, like genuinely apologizing. Fatima, she's trying to apologize for him. They both telling her they didn't mean to offend her any kind of way. So Zach says, let's just go ahead and get out of here. So they're getting ready to leave. So they're turning to get in the car, and she stops them. And she's like, wait a minute, hold up. Like, since you apologize and he apologized and y'all wasn't trying to come at me like that, then hey, I'll go ahead and take some of that money. I can use a piece of change. I'm like, lady, why did you go through all of that just now? You know doggone well you wanted that money from the get-go, because I would have took the money and kept it pushing. But you did make them feel small and think about what was really important, and it was about the child. But at the same time, he was just trying to be nice. I think he could have approached it in a different way maybe, but at the same time, Miss Lady, you wanted that money, girl. So after going through all of that with her, they decided they were going to look for Heather and Michael at the hospital. So Zach and Fatima, they go to the emergency room and they have no luck finding Heather and Michael. So Zach, he's upset about it and questioning his decisions he made by even sleeping with Heather in the first place. And now she has him out here looking for his child, and Fatima's trying to reassure him that they're gonna get custody. It'll be okay. And he's like, yeah, and then when we get custody, we're gonna have a child in the house in the beginning of our relationship. And I'm like, well, you guys already had this conversation, so why is Zach making it seem like it's a problem? But Fatima says, so be it. It's fine. He says what he always says, and that is, how are you so cool with all of this? And off topic, for me, at this point, I'm ready for season 7 because I want to see what the difference is going to be with the dialogue. I want to know if they're going to be following the script to a T, or are they going to be allowed to just get in the scene and just bounce lines off each other the way they've been doing. So Fatima tells him he made a mistake. It happens. Everybody does. He says, not you. Like as if she never makes a mistake. So she tells him a story about when she was 17, how her parents were really strict and didn't want her messing with this one particular guy, and she messed with him anyway, being hot in the pants, fast, you know how it go. So she got pregnant from the guy, and the gym teacher must have figured it out because they called her parents and said, I think you should get Fatima to a doctor. The parents took her to the doctor. They confirmed that, yes, she was pregnant, but some kind of way she ended up losing the child. So Fatima tells Zach, look, I can't judge you for anything that you've done because I've made mistakes of my own. So Zach tells her, had he met her back in the day, all those years ago, they would have a grown child together. And she was like, she don't think so because God knows best. She wasn't ready when it happened, and even if it was him, she still wouldn't have been ready. She tells him that Michael is here at the right time and that he's going to be an amazing father. She can tell how he is with him. And then they get into the whole, they can't wait to have kids together. And so Zach is telling her that it would be different with her because he's there from the beginning. He can experience the entire process of it all. And she is like, well, if you keep talking like that, you're going to have baby number 3 on the way. He really don't care. He's here for it. So basically, this could be the setup for the announcement. But at this point, it is what it is. Over here on Sisters, that has not happened. So when and if it does, we'll just have to wait it out. So we go over there to Jordan's house, and as we remember, he is introducing Andy to Gary, and both of them are looking shocked and appalled. So Gary was like, do I know you? And Andy is looking at him all crazy like, of course you know me. And he was like, oh, I don't think so. So she's catching an attitude like, what do you mean? But before she can really get into his behind, he starts deflecting and talking to Jordan like, I love the house. I love what you've done. Sorry about your divorce. Then all of a sudden he has to leave, like trying to go. And Jordan was like, you just got here, like my sister's on the way. Jordan asked, is he's missing something? So I guess he's kind of noticing what's going on. He should anyway. But Gary was like, nah, I just want you to enjoy what you got going on. He's trying to get out, saying he has to go to work, just saying all kind of different stuff so he can leave. And Jordan told him, no, you're not going to leave because I really don't get to spend that much time with you as it is. So Sabrina and Danny finally recognize he's over there, so they get up from the table and go make the situation even more awkward. And Gary was like, oh dear God, because he knows now he is really in trouble. So they ask Gary how he knows Jordan, and he never answers the question. He just starts hemming and hawing and hemming and just deflecting and says he has to go. So he shoots off in the backyard. And I'm like, if you're leaving, why didn't you go out the front door? But Jordan, he follows behind him. So the girls, they go inside and they're wondering what's going on. Why is Gary being so weird? Why didn't he mention that him and Andy were dating? And Andy was like, well, let him leave because he's being strange. And Danny was like, no, she want the tea and it's brewing. So she goes and hollers for Gary to come in the house. Next thing you know, all the guys come in the house. So the guys, they're messing with Gary, asking him, is he allergic to a good time, and wants to know why is he rushing out? Why is he leaving? And they bring up something that happened 2 weeks ago, and Danny was like, I want to hear about it. Gary, still trying to get out the door, says he needs to go make a phone call, so he heads back to the backyard once again. So in walks Penelope, that's Jordan's baby sister, who also happens to be pregnant. Immediately she asks, where is Gary? So the girls, they're looking at each other, mumbling like, she's asking for Gary. Like, what is going on here? Like, what's this about? So Jordan, he introduces the ladies to her and everyone's like, hi. So Penelope, she's still wondering where Gary is, and Danny congratulates her on the pregnancy. And she says that this is their first child. Andy asks her who is our, and she says that it's Gary, her fiance. So we learned that they are engaged, and then we learned that they've actually been together 3 years. Unbelievable. The ladies could not believe what they just heard, so they play it off. Nobody says anything, but you could tell Andy's face is cracked. So Gary, he reluctantly comes back in the house talking about goodness gracious. He probably done went to the bathroom in his pants. Andy trying to give him the evil eye, and he hugs all up on Penelope, and Andy's face is like priceless. Like she cannot believe this dude is really doing this. Now, even though we don't like Gary, Gary is a dog. I don't feel bad for Andy at all, because once she found out he was married to Jasmine, she continued the relationship, and, it is what it is. So he had Jasmine plus a side chick she knew nothing about, and then she thinks she's all that in a bag of chips and can tell Gary how big somebody else is and how much better in bed they are because she's all of that, right? So she shouldn't have a problem moving the hell on and getting over this situation, because she already knows that Gary ain't nothing nice, because how you get him is how you lose him. So Gary, he's still trying to leave and trying to get Penelope to leave with him. And she's like, you work all the time. I barely get to see you. And Andy chimes in, does he? So all the while, we know he's not out of town working. He's over there bothering and stalking Andy. As hard as he tries to get her to leave, Penelope wasn't having it. She told him they were going to stay and they were going to be there for a while. So considering the fact that Penelope is clueless to what's going on, she thinks she has a potential sister-in-law in Andy, because we probably all forgot that Andy was there for Jordan, her brother. So she says, Andy, I want to get to know you. I want to know everything about you. And we all know Gary does not want that. He's about to have a heart attack up in that piece. So she sends the guys out back to finish preparing the food, and she waits for the girls to come sit and chit-chat with her over on the sofa. So the ladies, they huddle up real quick, because Danny feels like Penelope needs to know the truth, that she's getting played, and Andy and Sabrina feel like they don't want to hurt Penelope's feelings. So the girls, they finally make it over there to the sofa with Penelope. Mind you, she asks Andy to come over there so she can learn about Andy. But they're asking her about Gary, but that's what we want to hear anyway, right? So they want to know, how's it going with you guys? Like when exactly, month, timeline, did you guys get engaged? She said right before she got pregnant. She also said they met on a blind date. So she says that he's so attentive and sweet and all of this, and he bought her an apartment and a car, and now Andy's over there stuffing all these chips in her mouth like, oh my God. So Danny was like, what kind of car, Rolls Royce? She was like, no, I'm not that type of girl. So of course, Andy wants to know, what does that mean? And she says she's not flashy like that. So Penelope says that it's tacky for people to ride around in cars like that, knowing that there's people struggling to pay their bills. She calls them attention seekers, and everyone was like, yeah, I can see that. And they say they're just messing with Andy because she drives a Rolls Royce. So Penelope was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Like, I don't think you're that type of girl. And Danny, being messy and petty as ever, is like, she's not that type of girl. The only reason she got it because a nice man bought it for her. So Penelope says, oh, so you got a Gary too. And Danny says, oh, you would be surprised. You would think that it was the exact same person. So Penelope, she was like, Andy, I got to tell you how much my brother likes you. Like, he's really a good guy. He's like our dad. He's very loving. He's hardworking. And most importantly, he's faithful. And she says that she could never be with a man that's unfaithful. And I say it all the time. Never say what you will and won't do or put up with, because these people will have you in these streets looking like a complete fool. And this is why Danny is itching to tell Penelope the truth so Gary can stop playing in this lady's face. So Danny is saying never say never. They'll have a whole double life going on and you never know it. Be a whole polygamist out here in these streets. And Penelope was like, well, what's going on? So they blamed it on the alcohol, saying Danny don't know how to hold her liquor or whatever. So the guys, they come back in. Gary wants to know what they're talking about. And she says, how much I love you. And of course, they're messing with Gary, saying all the things that was talked about, how she showed him the dress and how they're talking about the baby, the wedding, the maternity shoot they're going to have. And then Rich and Tony, they pull Danny and Sabrina on the dance floor, and the two of them wasn't ready to go because they want to sit and keep going with the tea over here on the sofa. But they end up going over there to dance anyway. So before you know it, everybody was dancing. Jordan and Andy, they were talking, and he wanted to know what she thought about Penelope. Andy said that she thought she was really sweet. So he says that she's had her share of bad guys, but he's glad that she met Gary. Little does he know Gary is part of that share of bad guys. So all of a sudden, something starts burning in the back. So the men run out back to see what's going on. And Andy starts grabbing her purse, telling Sabrina and Danny, let's go. This is our chance to leave. And Danny refuses to go. She says she's not going. Danny says she is ready to blow Gary's spot up tonight. Andy doesn't want to do it. She feels bad for Penelope, saying that she doesn't have a clue what's going on. She's perfect. She's innocent. Her life will implode if they do this. And Danny doesn't care. That's why she feels Penelope needs to know. Andy says she doesn't want to do that to another black woman. Danny told her, I'm the wrong person to say that to, because all I heard was that he's messing over 2 black women. I said, I know that's right, Danny. Danny felt like he needed to be exposed and that Penelope deserved to know the truth before she have that baby. And she told Andy, look, either you tell her or I will. Which one will it be? Before you know it, Penelope was walking up on the scene and was like, wait, what? And that's where the episode ends. Woo, child, that was a lot going on right there. What would you guys do in that awkward, tense situation? Would you tell Penelope the truth about Gary like Danny wants to do, or would you be like Andy and spare her feelings and don't say anything at all? Drop down in the comments and let me know, what would you do in that situation? As always, you guys, thanks for your support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.